the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hi, Dan.
Good evening, Chris. 3 names on the report tonight. The unfortunate ankle injury, of course, to running back Charles Sims, out at least 12 weeks. Alteron Werner, the cornerback, still out with a hamstring, as is cornerback Mike Jenkins with the groin. Chris?
Thank you very much. Lovie Smith handling some of those injuries. His teams in Chicago from 04 to 12 led the NFL with most takeaways. And Joe Philbin, in his 3rd season as the Dolphins head coach, fewest penalties in the AFC over the last 2 years. The coaches already in the 2nd preseason game for both of these teams. Getting ready to kick off is Michael Kanan. The Buccaneers won the toss, and Lovie Smith, as will be his policy, deferred. Wants his defense to start first, especially at home, and wants his offense to have the ball to start the second half. Marcus Thigpen back to return. Game 2 of the preseason. Dolphins and Bucs is underway, and an excellent kickoff for Tampa Bay sets the Miami offense at the 20-yard line. We're live with Rondé Barber, Chris Myers, Dan Lucas on the field. Do you like that strategy, of course?
You know what? Defensive coaches generally like to defer. It makes sense. Put their defense on the field first. It sets a tone. Yeah, I know when I was playing back in the day, we loved to be able to get after the quarterback from the very first snap. That's exactly Lovie Smith's mentality, too, and it's what he's done today.
That quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, played briefly and was sharp last week in the Dolphins' preseason opening win against Atlanta, as Lamar Miller, the starting running back, the former Hurricane, is knocked to the ground right away and loses yardage. Let's take a look at the starting lineups brought to you by Helicon Property Restoration. We keep our promises. And Brian Hartline, Mike Wallace did not play in the Miami preseason opener against Atlanta. And the offensive line, a lot of new faces. Jawan James, a #1 pick. They're in college. Brandon Albert coming in from other teams. No gain on 2nd and 10. Tannehill open at the 25-yard line and crosses as Michael Egnew. The backup tight end, Charles Clay, starting tight end, is not in the lineup for Miami. And look at the Helicon Property Restoration starting lineups for the Bucs D.
There's Michael Johnson, who we talked about in the open, want to see a lot from. Also Adrian Claiborne, who switched from right end to defensive left end. Mason Foster, I think, is really important if this team's going to play a lot of cover 2. He's got to be able to run through the middle. And Deshaun Goldson getting his first start of the preseason. He's got a lot to prove. Lovie said it. I said it. And make note there's 12 starters there on defense because Lovie Smith sees the nickelback is a starter. It's Leonard Johnson.
On 3rd down, Tannehill completes for the first down to Brian Hartline. You saw the nickelback there, Leonard Johnson, number 29, your old position, and Lovie Smith introduced with the defense that 12th player, that nickelback, and they're pretty much on the field. Teams throw 70% of the time in today's NFL.
Unlike when I was first defining that position, I guess you could say, most corners went inside and played, but now it's a specialized position in this defense. That's all he does. He's not a corner, safety, anything. He is the nickelback.
On 1st and 10. From the 32, Tannehill with time, floats one deep down the sideline and looking for it, no flags, incomplete, was Mike Wallace. 5 touchdown catches last year. Remember, he came over from the Steelers and big plays were expected. Rashawn Melvin, starting at corner for Alteron Werner, was there on the coverage.
Mike Wallace didn't play last weekend. It's one thing that he did well in Pittsburgh was take these shots from Ben Roethlisberger. You had to figure at some point early in this game he was going to get a shot, and lo and behold, 4th play of the game, put it out to the farthest one. He's looking for a penalty, just like all quarterbacks are looking for penalties nowadays in these games. Any contact.
Said like a true former defensive back. On 2nd and 10, incomplete. There was nowhere to go. In the area was Brandon Gibson. This Dolphin offensive line, they shook things up. They gave up the most sacks last year, the most in the NFL, 58. So that's something I'm sure Lovie Smith would like his defense to feast on. Even though they added new players, they think they've improved it. They're still getting to know each other.
Yeah, there's not a lot of game planning that goes on in these games, especially 2nd preseason games. Who knows how long the starters are going to play. But if there's one key advantage for the Bucs, it's that offensive line versus that stout defensive line of Tampa Bay.
Nickelback is in. Leonard Johnson on 3rd down and 10. Tannehill. McCoy was coming, but he got rid of it. Lamar Miller makes the catch and is short of the first down. Just stopped short of the 39-yard line, where it will bring up 4th down for the Dolphins.
Tampa 2 personified right here. Get pressure up the middle. 4-man pressure, which is crucial for this defense. lets the ball get checked down in front of the linebackers, which was Leonard Johnson, who's in at nickel, and Levante David, and they come in and squeeze the tackle, and they get off on third down there.
So Brandon Fields is back to punt, the lone remaining player from the Bill Parcells era who was drafted into this Dolphin organization, and he's done a steady job. Bobby Rainey back to return the punt, standing at the Tampa Bay 10. Slips a tackle. Rainey across the 16-yard line, and some flags fly. Bucs had 11 penalties last week. And we will check on the call. Our referee is Brad Allen.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 44, the receiving team. Half the distance from the spot of the foul. First down. Timeout.
The penalty against the Buccaneers reserve linebacker Brandon McGee, fighting for a roster.
Started very similar to how it started in Jacksonville. Up front, watch Clint McDonald throw this guard, Mason Foster filling that B gap. This defense, when it's on, that 8-man front or 7-man front that acts like an 8-man front is tough to run on. You got guys like Gerald McCoy, McDonald, who is a free agent this year from Seattle. If you get a Mike linebacker that plugs like Mason did right there, it's going to be a very successful season.
Josh McCown actually signed with the Dolphins back in 2008, but then was traded. His 8th different NFL team, a 2-year deal with Tampa Bay in his 2nd preseason game. Played briefly last week from inside his own 10. Pass is completed to Doug Martin, who gets up across the 14-yard line where it'll be 2nd down.
I like how they started this, getting the ball out to Doug Martin there in the flat real quick. You know, this offense probably going to go hurry up here. It looks like they're already on the line of scrimmage, but you see those 2 big wide receivers. Evans gets the start today.
It's something we're going to see a lot more of through the course of the regular season. Quick handoff to Martin, evades a tackle. It's up across the 15-yard line where it will be 3rd down and short. Let's check the defensive lineup for the Miami Dolphins, brought to you by Helicon Property Restoration. We keep our promises. Brent Grimes, and they've added Luis Delmas in the secondary. Rashad Jones will miss the first 4 games of the regular season because of a suspension. On 3rd and short, McCown. He moves up, he completes. It's a first down, Tampa Bay. Here comes a flag late on the play. Mike Evans, the number 1 pick, with the first down catch, but let's check the flag.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer, number 50. Defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
This ball is definitely out, and just, careless, trying to make a statement type play, which is really unnecessary in the preseason. Gives 15 yards for the Bucs. What's nice there, though, and something I think you'll notice throughout this preseason and the regular season for the Bucs, is watch how much Evans and all these wide receivers move around. Vincent Jackson will be in the slot. Evans was in the slot right there. Just gives them a lot more variety.
All right, Olivier Vernon called for the penalty. Evans goes to your right, top of the screen for Josh McCown. You tack on 15. They're across the 40 and a handoff to Doug Martin, who gets shoved backwards. Daniel Ellerby coming from his middle linebacker position, forcing a 2nd down. And what do you think of this no huddle concept?
Well, it's the rage. I mean, it works in college. It's worked so far the past couple of years in the pros. What I like, what Tedford has done so far early in this game, is get the ball out of Josh's hands quickly, get some positive plays.
Jeff Tedford, first-year offensive coordinator in the NFL. That pass is incomplete, intended for Vincent Jackson, and it's something that Lovie Smith mentioned to us when he sat out during the year and watched offenses. He said that he noticed more of the option, more of the no huddle, kind of like the college game makes it more difficult on NFL defenses as they don't huddle again here on 3rd down.
Yeah, Josh looking right, come back left, throws that kind of blind, but Cortland Finnegan was stepping in front of that pass. He's lucky not to get an interception there.
On 3rd down and 9, Doug Martin, the running back, 2 receivers on the right. Luke Stocker, the tight end. McCown has time and goes down just across the 41-yard line.
One of the knocks on Josh throughout his career is that he has a tendency to hold on to the ball, and I think he held on to it a little bit too long here. You got a 3rd and manageable situation. He has time. His offensive line gives him time here. See O'Neal Cousins with a good block, holding that pocket together, and he steps up and he has guys to get rid of the ball, but he just doesn't let go of it and has to take the sack.
After the first down completion and penalty, the drive stalls. Kanan into punt. A good rush put on Kanan, but he gets it away and hammers it. Marcus Thigpen inside the Miami 10 with a fair catch. And Miami will get their second opportunity on offense after a 50-yard boot. The Bucs are on defense, scoreless here in the opening quarter. Ryan Tannehill, 3 out of 5 in the opening possession. Will have the football. First down for the Dolphins. Closed captioning brought to you by McDonald's new jalapeno double burger. Now just $2 for a limited time. Lamar Miller remains the back. They added Noshawn Moreno, but unlikely to play. He'll be a part of their offense. Miller's the starter. Daniel Thomas and Mike Gillislee have been battling injuries. As Tannehill hands off to Miller. He was the leading rusher on the team last year. We'll see a lot of Damian Williams for them, the rookie running back from Oklahoma. They also have a Damian Williams receiver from USC who they signed from Tennessee. Joe Philbin's team 8-8 last year. They lost their last 2 games. They were on their way to the playoffs, but they lost at Buffalo and at home to the Jets. So there's a lot of heat on. More than the normal heat in South Florida. Tonight, our temperature 84 degrees. The humidity, relative. It's all relative. Miller on second down on an excellent defensive play. Gerald McCoy.
There's simply no going running the ball up the gut of this Buccaneer defense right now. Clint McDonald, Gerald McCoy, who was just dominant last week. You see that explosion off the ball there, just knocks the guard 4 yards back in the backfield before he comes up and makes that tackle. You know, a lot of people comment on how good a player Gerald McCoy is. He's put it on film so far these first 2 preseason games.
The leader of this defense, even though we know Deshaun Goldson voted the captain, and the fans here would like some more defense on third down. Tannehill from his 3-yard line, pass is caught for a first down. Slipping out of a tackle and spinning at the 22 is Brandon Gibson, and Tannehill looks sharp.
Tannehill had some time there. Bucs were in their man coverage. Jonathan Banks in coverage over there. You see, sticking with this 4-man rush, they got some games working up front. Really a good route by Brandon Gibson there. Finds his sticks, pivots back in. Ball's delivered right on time.
A 12-yard pickup, first down up across the 23. Fake fires it over the middle and complete. And moving with the football is the rookie Jarvis Landry up near midfield. Taken in the second round from LSU on a nifty fake by Tannehill.
You know what that fake did was pull up all 3 of the underneath defenders there. Leonard Johnson, Mike linebacker there, and Levante all are studded. You see Leonard Johnson there 2 steps into the line of scrimmage. That's his guy. That's his zone where that ball was caught. Now you get an over-aggressive nickel, you can take advantage of him sometime. And Leonard was a little aggressive right there.
Landry in the slot on first down from the 49. Flag down. Pass is complete near midfield, and going down to the 41-yard line is Lamar Miller. Mason Foster making the stop for the Bucs. An 11-yard gain.
Illegal use of the hands, hands to the face. Number 70, offense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
You know, Bill Lazor came in as offensive coordinator this year for Miami, and this offense looks completely different now.
Let's look at the call on Dallas Thomas, the right guard, and that's an area of concern for this team, the hands to the face.
Well, any hands to the face now is a personal foul. Another one of the re-emphasis of the rule. They're in the rule book, but re-emphasized. It'd be called a lot during the preseason.
Interesting with 3. Look at the bunch receivers on the right, lower part of your screen for Tannehill. So he throws that way to Mike Wallace and can't hold on. You're talking about Bill Lazor, who was actually the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia last year for Chip Kelly's playoff Eagles team. Let's take a look at the tip ball.
Now this ball just hit Mike Wallace right in the chest. They had numbers over there too. He had the 2 lead blockers and Gibson, number 18 there, but got to secure the ball. But back to Bill Lazor. This offense is spread out. Tannehill running some of the read option like stuff, but you'll never see him run the football. He gets it out of his hands.
On second down, in motion is Gibson. Tannehill looks that way and comes the other way to Lamar Miller. Slips a tackle in the open field. He's in Buccaneer territory and out of bounds around the 48-yard line. Mark Barron had to run him out of bounds, but a missed opportunity for negative yardage.
Yeah, Rashaan Melvin had an opportunity there in the backfield. He actually looks like he's coming out of the game. I'm not sure if he's hurt. Danny Gore replaces him, who had been in place of Alteron Verner for much of training camp. Rashaan Melvin gets the start today, though.
Alteron Verner and Mike Jenkins again out of the lineup. Verner practiced during the week but has been bothered by the hamstring. They're likely to be the starters if they're healthy for the regular season. On third down, they need to get down to the 41 of Tampa Bay. Damian Williams in at running back. Tannehill's tipped in the air but caught. And a first down for the Dolphins in a crowd of Buccaneers down at the 32-yard line. The catch was made by Rishard Matthews.
You know what? I'm not sure this ball went to the receiver Tannehill was intending to throw this to. Bucs had this covered well.
Somebody got their hand on it on the defensive line, and we have an injured Dolphin player back at the 47-yard line. We'll have more from Raymond James Stadium in just a moment. McCoy is the one who tipped the football that was caught.
Yeah, and it was an unfortunate break, really, for the Buccaneers, because this ball, I think, was going. You'll see Jared McCoy down here with this tip right there. This ball was going right to where Levante was chasing his receiver to, and it tipped over his head, and completion to the guy behind. I don't think Tannehill was throwing to the guy who caught that football.
Sam Satelli was the injured player. He started at center for Mike Pouncey, who's going to miss at least the first month or so of the regular season for Miami at center after having surgery and rehabbing on a hip problem. First down, Miami. Damian Williams carries. Gets inside the 30 before he was run out of bounds by Mason Foster. It's the Dolphins' second offensive possession here, and they have moved it from inside their own 10 to inside the 30 of the Buccaneers.
This has been an impressive drive, really, Chris. They converted on 2 third downs, manageable third downs, but 2 third downs that the Bucs had pretty much covered up. This offense looks good right now. Again, it's spread out. It's very innovative. You can tell Bill Lazor has a plan, and they're sticking to it right now.
And a challenge for Leslie Frazier and Lovie Smith on the Bucs defense. From the 30, that's where it's spotted. Tannehill on the move. Open for a moment, but out of bounds is Mike Wallace, and incomplete. It'll be third down. Miami already in field goal range. 10th play of this drive.
Now, if you're the Bucs right now, Bucs defender, you just want this to get off the field right now. Got 30-yard line. They're in field goal range, field goal opportunity range. This will be a win. Especially they've had some unfortunate breaks on this drive.
Tannehill 7 out of 11 so far. Extra pressure picked up. Tannehill's throw incomplete. Hartline was there, and the coverage was good enough by Jonathan Banks. It's fourth down.
It's a really good play by Jonathan Banks. Third down, man. It is a battle for the sticks. This ball is going right to the stick. Jonathan Banks knows that. Gets his hand in on this batted ball. They're in man-to-man right here. Jonathan Banks, though, makes a really good job putting his foot in the ground, coming back on transition.
A 48-yard field goal try. John Potter challenging Caleb Sturgis. They just had a kicker in previously doing the same. Snap, kick, and hold. Notice the extended uprights, and the kick is good. The Dolphins strike first. Miami with a 3-0 lead, 4:47 remaining here in the opening quarter. It's brought to you in spectacular high definition by Bright House Networks, the most preferred TV provider in Tampa Bay. With Rondé Barber, Chris Myers, nice to have you watching WFLA News Channel 8, your station for the Buccaneers. Don't forget, next Saturday, it's a 4:30 in the afternoon kickoff from Buffalo, and you'll see that live. Glad to have you watching this one live as the Bucs are going over the strategy following the Potter field goal, and he's going to kick off for Miami. Mike James back to receive. Bobby Rainey was used on the earlier punt return. It's still an area up for discussion for the Buccaneers. James Spins out of a tackle, knocked out just short of the 20-yard line. Now let's take a look at the GMC scoring drive. We are professional grade for Joe Philbin's Dolphins, and it was an impressive time-consuming drive, and when it stalled, they took the 3. Tannehill looking sharp and catching a few breaks along the way. Now let's see what Josh McCown can do. And we left off with a kind of a no huddle, not necessarily a hurry-up offense.
Yeah, it's not really get to the line, hurry up, snap the ball. It's really just call the play from the line of scrimmage. It puts the defense on their heels because you never know when this ball is going to be snapped.
Doug Martin has a hole. All the way up across the 27-yard line. Cortland Finnegan, the former Ram and Tennessee Titan, made the stop.
We talked a lot last week about how this offensive line struggled, but one thing that can help them is running the football today.
And you see they go right to the line without a huddle, but not necessarily a quick snap. Look at McCown motioning to Evans and Jackson to go to the right. The top of the screen is 2 receivers on 2nd down 2, and Jaworski Lane is in with Doug Martin in the backfield. McCown in trouble, but floats it to Lane. And there goes the one-time Dolphin. First down, Bucs across the 40.
Seeing a lot more of the playbook today from Jeff Tedford. Jaworski Lane, who's a guy that we've been talking a lot about whether or not they're going to keep another tight end instead of a fullback, but this guy's had a great camp so far, and one of the things that they love about him is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Obviously, he's an ex-running back. His willingness to play football or fullback, I think, is going to let him make this football team if he continues to have a good preseason.
Spotted at the 41 of the Buccaneers. Doug Martin finding running room. Knocked down across the 46-yard line. Lovie Smith said the running game helps everything with the offense. It looks like this offensive line has made an adjustment in that area.
You know what? They went all through camp with Jamon Meredith and O'Neal Cousins being the 2 guards. You make a shakeup. I mean, you're essentially putting everybody on notice. You know, Mame in there at right guard. Don't know if it's made a difference, but something they did this week. They look like a vastly different team than they played Jacksonville.
Meredith working at the tackle position. McCown better get rid of it, and threw it low and incomplete to Stocker, one of the 2 tight ends that were in on that play.
Yeah, he had to get rid of that ball quickly. DeMar Dotson was beat soundly on the right end there by Cameron Wake. You see him aim high and miss. He's bearing down on the quarterback.
Cameron Wake, one of the best at sacking the quarterback over the last few years. Doug Martin as a receiver at the bottom of your screen on 3rd down. They need 5. Pressure coming. He avoids, and McCown has room. Is he going to run? Not enough room for the 1st down. But the blitz was on, and Olivier Vernon ran him out of bounds.
You know, not a lot of teams do this in the middle of the field, but the Dolphins here, they got all 7 guys or 6 guys on the line of scrimmage in an all-out pressure. It's just they brought one more guy than the Bucs were able to block, and there was no way for Josh to get rid of that football.
4th down and 2. Jarvis Landry, the rookie, back to receive the punt of Michael Kanan. And that's a strong-looking kick. He lets it go, and it bounces into the end zone. Miami will get the football for the 3rd time tonight. At the 20-yard line, the Dolphins have a 3-0 lead after a 51-yard punt. Dolphins first down at their own 20, leading 3-0. Hey, Ellen and Steve Harvey are moving to News Channel 8. You can watch September 8th for the premieres of Steve Harvey at 2 and Ellen at 3 right here on News Channel 8. Deshaun Goldson remains in his first action of the preseason. On 1st down, Tannehill complete over the middle. He's 8 of 13 now. That's just short of the 1st down. Deion Sims making the catch, and Mason Foster right with him.
Tannehill showing a lot of different options in wideout. This is the 7th guy that he's completed a football to today. Offense has been very, very efficient so far.
And he's been getting rid of the ball quickly. Williams carries right at the 30-yard line. Just over a minute and a half remaining here in the opening quarter. And it is a first down.
Quite possibly could be the last series for the Bucs defense, starting defensive unit. You always come out and say you want a 3 and out or a turnover. You haven't produced any of those so far today.
First and 10 from the 30. Nice defensive play as Damian Williams is brought down by Gerald McCoy, who's been all over the place in the first quarter. I mean, this man is a one-man defense tonight.
I'm telling you what, if you're starting a football team and you don't got a guy like Gerald McCoy in your team, you're severely hurting yourself. He is unblockable. You see him down here, just how fast he gets off the football. Guard has absolutely no chance to stop him. It's another tackle for loss for Gerald McCoy. It's about his 5th one in 2 preseason games.
And the Dolphins were concerned about where he was lining up with this revamped offensive line. Tannehill, quick pass. It's caught by Brandon Gibson. He's got a first down with an extra lunge across the 41. Looks like that ball may have been tipped at the line of scrimmage as the first quarter is winding down. And Miami is on the move. It is good enough for a first down, and that's going to be it for the opening quarter on the Haverty scoreboard. The Dolphins leading the Buccaneers 3-0. Bring your vision to life at Havertys.com. Havertys discovers something for you.
That's the end of the first quarter.
With Rondé Barber, Chris Myers, Dan Lucas on the field. And we'll continue with the Dolphins. We welcome you back. Start of the second quarter. Miami, 112 total yards, 110 have been passing yards.
Yeah,
so the good news is the Bucs are stopping the run.
I'll tell you what's going on, Chris. Gerald McCoy, Clinton McDonald, everybody up front is dominating. What they're having problems with is stopping these quick slants. His ball's coming out so quick from Tannehill. Just haven't been able to cover that last third down play. They've been in third and manageable situations. They haven't been able to cover them when they've been in one-on-one situations.
5 different receivers have caught passes from Tannehill. The ball is out, and the Buccaneers have it inside the 25-yard line. Michael Johnson comes up with the loose football. There's a takeaway that Lovie Smith was looking for.
Takeaways win football games. They went to the well one too many times here, though. That defensive front was getting so much pressure. It was just a matter of time before Gerald McCoy dominated the guard again and gets a sack on Tannehill. And there's Johnny on the spot, Michael Johnson, picking up that fumble. I can't mention, there's not enough superlatives for me to mention about Gerald McCoy right now. Whether it's in the run game, whether it's in the pass game, these guards have no chance of blocking him right now. He's the best defensive tackle in football, Chris. You got to be kidding me. That's unbelievable.
I'm not going to argue with him or you. From the 25-yard line, first down, Doug Martin carries and has room, slips a tackle and gets knocked down at the 20. A 5-yard pickup on first down. Our first quarter stats brought to you by Suncoast Hyundai dealers. Discover the completely redesigned 2015 Hyundai Sonata at your Suncoast Hyundai dealers today. And the new stat you can throw on there for the second quarter is the turnover. Tampa Bay 1, Miami nothing.
What was a big factor in them losing the football game last week. They got to like being at +1 right now, especially to stop that drive. They converted some third downs. Gerald McCoy comes up big.
McCown throws, caught. Inside the 15, down to the 10 is Brandon Myers.
Chris, was a great job of communicating right there by Josh McCown. He changed that play, it sounded like 3 times until he got the look that he wanted to.
First down from the 10-yard line. They line up without a huddle. Chris Owusu and Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans all on the right side. They run straight ahead with Doug Martin. And that's the experience in the 12-year veteran Josh McCown that obviously they want Mike Glennon to get to, but to do just what you said, to make the adjustment, especially when you get down there around the 20 inside the red zone.
You played on 8 different teams, 9 if you count the time in Canada. Josh has been there, done this before. He saw the look that he wanted, and he found the play that he needed.
3rd in the NFL in passer rating last year in Chicago with a 109 rating. As time, end zone throw, back of the end zone, touchdown, Vincent Jackson.
That's the combination, Bucs fans. Josh McCown. You know Vincent Jackson's going to catch balls from whoever's at quarterback in Tampa Bay. What you got to like, though, if you're Jeff Tedford and Lovie Smith, is just how much time he had to run this route. This is a long developing play. He's running all the way to the back end line against one of the better corners in the NFL right there in Brent Grimes. Josh puts a perfect ball on Vincent for the touchdown.
Jackson had 7 touchdowns last season, and it's the first connection for those two that you'll see a lot of. At least that's what the Bucs are hoping for through this season. The extra point, remember this is the second game where they try the distance of what amounts to a 33-yard extra point. Connor Barth delivers, and the Bucs strike and lead 7-3, just over 13 minutes before the half. Josh McCown, the Buccaneers' first-year quarterback, the starting quarterback, getting his first touchdown of this preseason. And Vincent Jackson, Buc fans saw a lot of him in the end zone last year. A look at the GMC scoring drive. We are professional grade, and it all began with the turnover, covering first the fumble caused by Gerald McCoy. Michael Johnson recovering, so the Bucs offense only had to go 25 yards, and they did to get the touchdown. Connor Barth ready to kick off. And Jarvis Landry back for the Dolphins. Short kick, fielded at the 5. Landry up near the 29-yard line where the Dolphin offense will take over. Let's check in with Dan Lucas for a Florida hospital injury report. Dan?
Hey, Chris, on the Dolphins field goal drive, cornerback Rashaan Melvin left the game with an injured ankle. He's questionable to return. It's an important spot. He's playing behind Alteron Werner. So Danny Gore, 3rd on the depth chart, was out there playing with the starters after Melvin's injury. Chris?
Thanks, Dan. And it's an area where we'll see more than of Devin Carr and Keith Lewis. Quentin Pointer has been in as well as nickelback. Matt Moore has replaced Tannehill at quarterback, and he gives to Damian Williams. Matt Moore in his 8th year, 25 career starts.
You know, it's interesting here. We got an injured Buck on the.
And William Golston favoring that right shoulder will come off for Tampa Bay. And already the news this week, and it happened at practice with rookie Charles Sims suffering the knee injury, or the ankle injury, correction, out 12 to 14 weeks. Just heard the update on Rashaan Melvin. Let's see what happened to Golston.
It looks like he's in on the tackle. Not sure what that injury is. Never want to speculate. Comes up, looks like he's holding his pec.
On that side with Claiborne, Chaz Sutton, Ryan Giddens.
Daquan Bowers is also out tonight.
On 2nd and 10, Matt Moore underneath, and a tackle made right at the 25-yard line. Danny Gore, who came in at the corner spot on the side of Rashaan Melvin, makes the stop on Brett Brackett.
Yeah, this defense is flying around tonight, Chris. You know, that sack fumble recovery by Michael Johnson. Just think how big of a momentum turner that was for this team. Not only defense, this team. Ryan Tannehill had put together a couple of nice drives, completed some first downs on 3rd down. They get off and go in and score. Huge for momentum.
Quentin Pointer comes in on 3rd down. Bucs are threatening blitz. Here they come, picked up. Moore's throw, overthrew, strong arm throw. Kyle Miller, the intended target. It'll be 4th down. And we may see Brady Quinn in this game, who was signed by the Dolphins in the last week. The former Notre Dame star, former first-round pick in Cleveland.
Can we say former Fox colleague?
Well, he did appear at the Fox NFL seminar, has a career in broadcasting to do college or NFL should he pursue that area. We'll see tonight how that looks.
A lot of formers going on right now.
A lot of formers. Here is Fields standing inside his own 20-yard line, and Bobby Rainey back for the Bucs. From the 25-yard line, Rainey with a good move. Gets up near the 34-yard line. A healthy return and one of the more sure-handed return men on Lovie Smith's roster. Mike Glennon will lead the offense in just a moment. With Rondé Barber, Chris Myers here in the second quarter. Bucs lead with 7-3 advantage, and Glennon hands off to Bobby Rainey. Glennon takes over for Josh McCown, who threw the touchdown pass. His first NFL win happened to come against the Dolphins last year in his 6th start. And look at the 19 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. He had a string of a touchdown pass in 8 straight games. Impressive for a rookie. Only Russell Wilson, who had more in his rookie season of 9 straight.
That was Monday night game, too. Sapp getting into the Ring of Honor here in Tampa Bay. It's a huge night. Huge day for him to have a great night.
Glennon to throw, open, and there he is, the tight end, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. You talked about him in the open. We saw some terrific plays last week, some called back because of penalty. He was involved in some penalties. And here they go to the line without a huddle.
We'll affectionately call him ASJ since that name is so long. But Glennon throws his ball a little bit behind him. But this is the one thing that he can do, man. He's so big, just adjust to the ball. It's amazing to see a guy that size has that kind of agility.
Mike Evans, the number 1 pick on the left side, top of your screen. Hand off Bobby Rainey. And runs into a couple of Dolphins around the 48-yard line, where it'll be second down. So Bobby Rainey ended up being the team's leading rusher last year. Remember when Doug Martin went down with the shoulder injury and was in the plans with rookie Charles Sims before that broken ankle, and now out at least half the season. So it changes the running back depth area a little bit for Tampa Bay.
Well, it changes the dynamic because Charles Sims was going to be the guy that caught the ball in the backfield. It's going to be the third down guy. It's got to be one of these other guys now.
Pass is caught for a first down. Lewis Murphy in that receiver battle for the 3rd and 4th spot. Murphy from Lakewood High School in St. Petersburg. And he's also a former Florida Gator.
I really like the decisiveness in Mike Glennon's game, the way he gets rid of the ball. He finds his target, and if it's there, he lets it go. But he's also been proven to be very smart with it.
Rainey, a hold and closed in a hurry, but down to the 35 of Miami.
Especially last year, getting back to Mike Glennon, you know, as a rookie, you only throw 9 interceptions, putting under that kind of pressure. The team wasn't very good. They were out of a lot of football games, and he had to throw to get him back in, and he was very good with the football.
And it's not as if Lovie Smith and Jason Light, the new general manager, the first-year general manager, don't believe in Mike Glennon. They just weren't sure. A second-year quarterback, they think he'll start and star in the NFL one day. But with Josh McCown, the veteran, it gives Glennon more time to learn. In situations like that, couldn't get rid of it, and the pressure was on. Give Olivier Vernon credit for the sack. Randy Starks was also involved.
Mike's in with his first offensive line still. With DeMar Dotson, Patrick Amame, Evan Dietrich Smith, O'Neal Cousins, and Anthony Collins. So Lovie Smith, offensive line coach, really still trying to get a look at that unit. They're still looking at combinations of guys to see if they can get it right. See if they can get ready for Carolina in a couple of weeks, because right now, to me, they're still not ready.
Tim Wright has checked into the game, the tight end who lines up as a receiver, and there's a flag down. Looks like we might have a timeout instead before.
Prior to the expiration of the play clock. Timeout, Tampa Bay. They're first.
7:51 to go in the half. The Bucs lead and have the football. Bucs have the football in Dolphin territory and have a 4-point lead here in the second quarter. Stay connected with news, weather, and sports with News Channel 8 and the News app. Just search WFLA in your app store and download today. It's one more way. News Channel 8 is on your side. 6 carries, 24 yards for Doug Martin. Bobby Rainey the back now for Mike Leonard. On third down, Lennon complete. It's Mike Evans. He's going to have a touchdown.
It's a scary proposition in Tampa Bay right now. These two big receivers. You can make plays like that in the passing game. See Glennon taking his time in his pocket, finding the target he was looking for. And Mike Evans is just too big for this safety even to bring down.
At 6'5", 230 plus, and it was Jimmy Wilson who couldn't bring him down, and then he took off down the sideline and got into the end zone.
It was a bad attempt at a tackle by Jimmy Wilson. They're going to look at this fumble or this ball coming out at the goal line.
All scoring plays reviewed anyway, but this looks close. There was hesitation.
The ruling on the field was a touchdown. That play is under further review.
It's 42 yards. So Brad Allen and the crew will take a closer look. Ruling on the field is touchdown Mike Evans, but under review. Our referee Brad Allen has reviewed what was ruled a touchdown and now being reviewed.
You know, Chris, when this ball goes through the end zone and out of bounds, it should be ruled a touchback, and I think that's what the players and coaches on the Dolphins sideline are saying.
Well, it looked like it went into the end zone. Right there, it's out of bounds, but not through the back of the end zone. The official clearly indicated touchdown, but this does not look like he made it into the end zone with possession of the football.
Yeah, every review we've seen, he have lost possession before he got to the end zone.
After further review, the ball carrier fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line, which went out of bounds in the end zone. As a result, it is a touchback. 1st and 10, Miami.
Dolphins take over possession, and that is the correct ruling. As you pointed out, fumbling into the end zone as opposed to out of bounds before it hit the goal line or went into the end zone. Frustration for Evans, who made a terrific play.
Terrific play, broke a tackle. Use that big frame. Just got to have an emphasis on ball security. The ball is, you got to treat it with reverence.
And an excellent play by the Dolphins, hustling over to knock that ball loose.
Yeah, Brent Grimes ran a long way to make that play.
Matt Moore is in at quarterback. Orleans Darkwa in at running back, a rookie from Tulane, and there's a flag.
False start. Offense, number 70. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
The call on Dallas Thomas, the right guard. In his second year, but played very little in his rookie year. And he and Billy Turner battling at that guard spot. Miami has offensive line issues. Tampa Bay fans have no sympathy. So now the turnovers are even at 1 apiece. 1st and 15 Miami after the penalty. Darkwa knocked down and he'll lose yardage.
A really nice play by Quentin Pointer there. Came in for nickelback for Leonard Johnson. We're just playing cover 2 here. You get the run game. He knifes through a tackle, guard, pulling block, pull block. Shoestring tackle, tackle for loss. You know, the Bucs have racked up about 3 or 4 so far in this game. It's aggressive up front, aggressive with their guys filling on the second level.
Second down 19 after the 4-yard loss. The penalty before that. Dolphin offense going backward. Pressure from the Bucs defense. And again, a knockdown short of the 15 as Damian Williams made the catch but couldn't go anywhere. Danny Lanzana, who has impressed the coaching staff not only in training camp but last week when he had a chance to play against Jacksonville, a special teamer and reserve linebacker.
Danny Lanzana is 28 years old. He's been around the block, really hasn't had a chance to make it yet in the NFL, but so far in camp, he's been, I think, probably the most impressive backup linebacker. You know, obviously factor in special teams, but his play on defense be crucial too.
On third down and 15, Matt Moore open. First down Miami. Across the 35-yard line is Damian Williams.
We were just singing his praises, but they're playing cover 2 there, and Danny Lanzana, it was that seam dropper. See him right here. This ball's going to fall in right behind him. You know, my coaches back in the day, I played that same position. If there's one in front of you, you saw that crosser in front of you, there's one behind you, and that's exactly what Matt Moore was counting on when he delivered that ball.
Fresh set of downs for the Dolphins, spotted at the 36. Rashard Matthews in motion the other way, and a juggling grab by Williams. Wearing number 1 in his 5th year, he attended USC, was a free agent signed from the Tennessee Titans. And again, the rookie running back is Damian Williams. He spells it D-A-M-I-E-N. The receiver D-A-M-I-A-N. And Miami using them both here in the first half. Dolphins have all 3 of their timeouts, 2 for the Buccaneers. Off to Orleans Darkwa. Here comes a flag, and the Bucs were there.
Holding. Offense number 72. That penalty is declined. Third down.
It was on their first-round pick, Jawan James, the rookie right tackle from Tennessee, but Ronald Talley made such a terrific defensive play they didn't need to take the penalty.
Yeah, you're starting to wonder now if it's just the guards for Miami or if the defensive line for the Bucs are playing that well. Talley, who was with Jason Light in Arizona, that's why he's on this roster right now. They want to give him a chance. They need some looks at 3 technique. He's a guy that Jason knows, so he's in camp with him now.
Third down 7. Pressure, Matt Moore's picked up, and he's on the move. Throws low, and it's going to be 4th down. That was for his running back, Orleans Darkwa, and it's incomplete.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass.
You know, this Bucs defense, I think, is doing a really great job right now, getting pressure with just 4 men. You know, they have some pressures in the package. Obviously, they're not up right now because this is a preseason. So all you're seeing are these 4 guys up front getting after the quarterback. You see the pocket start to collapse there, force Matt Moore out, makes a bad throw, and they get off on 3rd down once again.
Brandon Fields standing inside the 25-yard line. Miami 9 rushes for -5 yards. That's how good the rush defense has been as Bobby Rainey gathers it in at the 6. And fights hard to get up to the 20-yard line. The Bucs will take over on offense. The copyright of this broadcast is owned by the NFL on behalf of its member clubs, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All rights to this broadcast are reserved, and any rebroadcast, recording, retransmission, or other use of this broadcast without the express written permission of the NFL is prohibited. Let's check in with Dan Lucas for an injury update. Dan?
Chris, you saw Will Golston leave the game earlier, the defensive end, a shoulder injury. His return is questionable. And an update to Rashaan Melvin, who had that ankle injury. He is out. Chris?
Rainey, the running back. Glennon, downfield. Lewis Murphy, incomplete.
Well set up play there, the play action, hoping to draw forwards secondary of the Dolphins. And Mike Glennon had Lewis Murphy in stride there. That was a well-placed ball. It was just a step out of his reach.
without a huddle to the line. Bobby Rainey the back. Murphy comes to the bottom of your screen. On 2nd and 10. Just short of the 20-yard line. Rainey the carry. It'll bring up 3rd down. We'll see Jeff Dumps later and Mike James as well. And we'll may see a little more of Jaworski Lane at tailback.
260 pounds of Jaworski Lane at tailback.
Well, that was the thing.
The Dolphins don't want to see that late in the game.
the Dolphins had him at one time, and he's thankful for the fresh opportunity here with Tampa Bay. And Lovie Smith said, you know, we knew he could carry the ball and catch the ball. I wanted to make sure he would block like a fullback, and he said he certainly has shown he can do that.
He's definitely done that so far. He did it very well in Jacksonville, even though it didn't show any much result.
And Mike Lennon goes down. There's a flag in the secondary. He's knocked down inside the 10-yard line. Derek Shelby with the sack. But the flag came in from the 40-yard line.
Holding. Defense number 59. 5-yard penalty. Automatic. 1st down.
Linebacker Daniel Ellerby called for the penalty. It'll be a 1st down for Tampa Bay.
Bucs have made some substitutions across that offensive line. Jace Daniels and Jason Foster are both in, and I think it was Jason Foster at center right there who just lost that battle on the LOS.
And it looked like Lennon was waiting, and obviously if his receiver's being held, can't get rid of the football. Jaworski Lane checks in with Bobby Rainey from the 26-yard line. And Rainey with the carry. You know, we talked about the receivers with Lewis Murphy in a battle for the 3rd receiver. You can assume, you pointed out, Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson likely to be the starters on that opening Sunday here at Raymond James against Carolina. So Chris Owusu, who we haven't seen a lot of tonight, in that battle with Murphy. And then you've got Tommy Streeter in the mix as well, who had the touchdown catch last week. There's Owusu.
False start. Offense number 79. 5-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Jamon Meredith called for the penalty.
Lovey also mentioned Robert Haran. He's had a good couple of days this past week. The 5th-round draft pick this year.
Haven't seen him much tonight.
Haven't seen him yet tonight, but we definitely will in the 2nd half. And that competition for that 3rd and 4th receiver is going to be really intense. One guy that we haven't really mentioned who I think will make a play on special teams is Russell Shepard. We'll see him also in the 2nd half playing some offense.
And Mike Lennon, not aware of the clock here, should have been, because they should have got the play off before the 2-minute warning.
This is the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes and a half.
So no play there. They will have their 2 timeouts remaining. Tampa Bay leads the Dolphins. Get complete Bucs coverage on Bucs Bonus. Watch before every preseason game, and once the season begins, you can watch Bucs Bonus every Saturday at 7 right here on News Channel 8. And next Saturday afternoon, 4:30 kickoff, 4:30, the Bucs and Buffalo Bills. You'll see it live here on News Channel 8. Dan Lucas coming up at the half after a news update, and he will be giving you highlights and updates as well. Lennon's throw is caught. It'll bring up 3rd down. That's Bobby Rainey. And a timeout used by Miami. They will have 2 remaining. The Bucs also have
Timeout.
2.
Miami. Their first. It will be 30 seconds.
So some early.
Please reset the game clock to 1:53.
Give us a little good, bad, and overview so far in this first half.
Well, the good is that they established a little bit of a running game. You know, it could definitely help this football team, especially the offensive guards who've struggled so far in this preseason. Take some pressure off of them, keep the defense on their heels a little bit. And I think Josh had a good showing today. He was 5 for 7. He had the touchdown to Vincent Jackson. He looked a lot more comfortable around these guys. You know, they still got some work to do. There's some uncertainty still at that position up front. But I like what I saw today, especially on the offensive line. And on defense, it's more of the same. Gerald McCoy being dominant. the defense keeping guys in front of them, not giving up big plays. That's huge for this team. It's Buck ball the way it used to be played.
And this Buccaneer defense, Miami's longest run, 2 yards. Miami tried 9 rushes for -5 on the ground. On offense, here's Rainey on the ground, and it'll bring up a 4th down. Another timeout by the Dolphins. They'll have 1 remaining.
Miami, their second charge, it will be 30 seconds.
So Patrick Omameh at 1 guard, helping to improve the situation.
This is just a missed assignment here. I think the pulling guard is responsible for that end. He just whipped him. That was the rookie Kadeem Edwards.
And he has tried at another guard spot. Anthony Collins, Damar Dotson, your tackles, and Evan Dietrich Smith making a whole new offensive line from what the Buccaneers had last year, as Michael Kanan is ready to punt it away.
I think they really want Kadeem Edwards to turn into a guy. I mean, obviously, he's a rookie. You know, he needs reps under him. I think he's the guy that we should be paying attention to the rest of this game and the rest of the preseason as they still try to figure out what that combination is going to be.
Jarvis Landry, the LSU rookie, back to receive. Kanan's boot. Fair catch called for at the 30. Dolphin offense takes over. They have 1 timeout remaining. When you wake up in the morning with Rod and Gale, don't wait for your weather and traffic. Get it first with Lee and Leslie with weather and traffic on the 8s. Weekday mornings on News Channel 8 today. From the 29-yard line of Miami, Matt Moore came in after Ryan Tannehill looked sharp, but did suffer a lost fumble that set up the Buccaneer touchdown.
Getting into 2-minute defense here, you'll see a lot of cover 2. Try to keep everything in front of them and make tackles and just milk out this clock.
Matt Moore complete, a little bit short of the 1st down. Brett Brackett has made quite an impression in camp as a tight end in reserve. Charles Clay inactive tonight for Miami. On 2nd down. Over the middle, 1st down Miami. Orleans Darkwa, the rookie running back from Tulane. Dolphins moving again with 1 timeout. And just over a minute to play in the half.
1st and 10 at the 46.
Matt Moore, right on target. Richard Matthews with the catch.
Right over the head of, I think that's Danny Gore. Or no, that's Anthony Gator, the corner. Now, there's some vulnerabilities in cover 2, and one of them is that area between the corner and the safety. And Matt Moore made a nice throw to get it in there.
18-yard pickup from the 35 of Tampa Bay. Matt Moore, who, when he has been called on in relief, has done an excellent job as a backup quarterback in the NFL, backing up Tannehill. Pressure. Moore gets away and gets rid of it. Anthony Gator came in on the blitz.
See Anthony Gator up here at corner, just sitting on the line of scrimmage. Not sure if that was called or if he was going for the, if he was going on a play fake.
Well, he forced Matt Moore to get rid of it and get out of rhythm, which the Bucs haven't been able to do in this drive. But now an opportunity, 53 seconds on 2nd and 10. Pressure coming, and it's picked up over the middle, complete. Damian Williams inside the 20 of Tampa Bay.
Matt Moore had plenty of time to deliver this football. You see the pressure coming in off the left of your screen. It's Pointer, and he gets picked up by the running back, and just enough time to get the ball to the guy he was looking for. Anthony Gator was giving him plenty of room for that completion.
Under 2 minutes, an injured player for Tampa Bay.
And we have a
results in a charge timeout.
Buccaneer player who was injured at the 10-yard line, so an official timeout with 34 seconds remaining after an 18-yard pickup on that pass play. Major Wright, former Chicago Bear who played for Lovie Smith and had a good game in Jacksonville. You mentioned him at the start of the broadcast. Is the player being looked at?
Yeah, I think he got a knee in the back there on the tackle. But yeah, Major Wright, who has a lot of familiarity with this system, I think it's a guy that this defense is counting on. Deshaun Golson, who didn't play last week, who we didn't hear much from today either. If he can't go, then I think this is the guy that they're counting on. Let's take a look at this collision here. You see him move into the middle of the field there, and when Anthony Gator comes in on his tackle, I think he gets his knee right in the back.
He reached quickly for the lower back. You could see him in pain.
He kind of created his own misery right there.
Being helped over to the sideline. First down, Miami. From the 17, Matt Moore. Underneath, completes the pass again. That's Orleans Darkwa, the running back, inside the 10. Each team with a timeout now.
Take that completion if you're the Bucs. Come up and tackle it.
Moore's pass, knocked loose. 3 Buccaneers in the area. Damian Williams trying to hang out of the football. Bradley McDougal, the safety, doing a lot of talking after the play, and Danny Gore was there.
Yeah, this slant route. You got Danny Gore, who made the play. The safety, McDougal, bearing down on it to knock it free, even if he did catch it. It's a lot of traffic there, trying to force that ball in there.
Ball is on the 9-yard line. It's 3rd down and 2, but the clock, the enemy, 13 seconds for Miami. They still have that timeout. Some pointing going on. Moore for the end zone, floats it, caught, touchdown, Rishard Matthews. Well-placed ball by Matt Moore.
Great ball by Matt Moore. A little bit of a breakdown, I think, there by the Bucs on defense. They get this tight bunch formation, and one of the things, these formations, they bunch you down so they can expand you.
Let's look at his feet here too, Rondé, on Matthews. It's ruled a touchdown, but on that angle you couldn't tell. Looks like that's what some of the Buccaneer defensive backs were pointing to. But the official right there.
We'll get the review upstairs anyways, because all scoring plays are reviewed. But
Ruling on the field is a touchdown. The play is under further review.
But again, Miami gets in that bunch down formation, and that Anthony Gator gets a little too constricted in his alignment. He just gives him all that room to run to the sideline to make that catch. Nothing taken away, though, from a great throw and catch by Matt Moore, Matthews.
Let's take another look as Brad Allen already had one review and overturned the Evans touchdown on the fumble. This is Matthews, 1 foot. Does he have the ball cleanly, and is that right toe in?
And from our perspective, that's a touchdown.
Nothing.
There's no movement on the weight. His foot was clearly in bounds. He had clear possession.
And again, ruled a touchdown on the field, so you'd have to see something clear to overturn that would convince you otherwise.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything there, Chris. Bucs got in that 2-minute defense, played a lot of cover two, and the theory of that is to keep everything in front of you, come up and make tackles. The clock is their enemy. They're going to run out of time if you keep them in bounds. Make them use that last timeout, which they didn't do.
The ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Yeah, that's a good call. From that back angle, it initially looked like his foot may have touched that white. That was a great throw, great catch. And kind of a demoralizing score for the Bucs as they go into halftime here.
John Potter on to try the extra point to make it 10-7 Dolphins. And what a turn of events. Mike Evans likely into the end zone for a touchdown, is ruled a touchdown. He loses it, fumbles it for a touchback. So the Bucs get nothing there, and then Miami in the late stages here with Matt Moore coming in to throw the touchdown pass to Rishard Matthews on the GMC scoring drive. We are professional grade. In a minute and a half, he went 71 yards. Talk about a good 2-minute offense.
Good teams win in 2-minute defense. You get a chance to get a stop. Again, Lovie Smith, you have some coachable moments in there, obviously, and that's what will be the positive out of this. But the negative is that you had a team all the way at the other end of the field, only one timeout, make tackles, keep them in front of you, keep them in bounds, and they attempt a field goal. If they make some yardage. There was a play, there was a deep corner route over Anthony Gator.
And that was a third down play.
On third down, and it was another third down there for the touchdown.
Mike James back to return. It's a squib kick. It's up. Taken by the Bucs. And running past the 40 is Bobby Rainey, or near the 40. And there's a flag down and another Buccaneer player down at the 32-yard line. And a second flag thrown in. Brandon McGee is the player injured.
During the return, holding, receiving team number 44. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
Was a 22-yard return by Rainey on the short kick, but the hold will negate that. And McGee, the injured player. The Buccaneers will get the football to start the second half. Remember, they won the coin toss and had the option. Leslie Frazier, the former Viking head coach, who calls the defense for Lovie Smith.
It's a defense that has evolved over the years since we first put this in 95, 96, 97 when I was there. But the essence of it's the same. Leslie told us that last week, that the concepts haven't changed. There's not much to change. The little wrinkles. This will be a little bit different defense than you saw back in the Bucs' heyday.
Looks like McGee's going to be helped off the field. The Dolphins, I should say, the Buccaneers did add Larry English, the former first-round pick of the Chargers, linebacker slash defensive end, who they hope to work in at some point, see what he can add to this team.
Yeah, you know, they looking for generate some edge pressure. You know, brought in Michael Johnson from Cincinnati last year. Haven't seen much out of him yet in the preseason. Adrian Claiborne changing from right defensive end to left defensive end. It's an adjustment. So they're looking for bodies. If there's an available guy out there, they're going to get him. And Larry English was a first-round draft pick in 2009. So why not bring him in and give him a chance?
Bucs will run out the clock, get the football in the second half. Dan Lucas with
That's
highlights
the end of the first half.
And statistics coming up. But we're going to check with Dan and Lovie Smith, whose team certainly provided a little more offense. At least Josh McCown wasn't on the run from the first coast. And throwing a nice touchdown pass to Vincent Jackson. And I think the Buccaneers defense, you talked about some of the reserves in the secondary and some of the lapses there, but certainly against the run and the play of Gerald McCoy, absolutely impressive. So let's check in with Dan and Coach Lovie Smith.
All right, Coach, let's go back to the beginning of the second quarter, because it was only a matter of time before Gerald McCoy got his hands on the quarterback the way he's been playing, and you get a turnover on the same play.
Yeah, it's exactly how you want to draw it up. It's about taking the ball away, and after you take it away, it's about getting a touchdown, and we're able to do that.
And then the offense comes on, and it's well documented during the week. They got picked on a little bit, but you turn a short field into a touchdown, and it's Josh McCown to Vincent Jackson. Everyone you want to see perform.
Yes, that's exactly how it is. Once you do get a takeaway, as I said, then you got to get the ball in the end zone. You can't settle for field goals back there. Good protection, of course, good throw by Josh.
All right, Coach, sit back upstairs.
Thanks, Dan. And Lovie Smith and Lovie's defense, negative rushing yards for the Dolphins against that defense. And it was the fumble caused by McCoy, recovered by Michael Johnson, that set up the only touchdown for Tampa Bay. Josh McCown to Vincent Jackson. News coming up, and then highlights and stats with Dan Lucas. Rondé Barber and I will be back for the start of the third quarter when the Dolphins kick off to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At the half on the Buccaneers television network, the Dolphins lead by 3.
The ankle injury to Charles Sims this week was the only significant one to speak of. You see a couple come up today, just don't want it to affect their ability to make team. Hopefully they're all minor.
Solomon Patton is back to receive. Lewis Murphy also back there. It'll be the rookie Patton. Solomon Patton all the way up across the 26-yard line. There's a flag down back where Miami kicked the ball from.
Offside, kicking team number 34. That penalty will be assessed from the end of the run. 5 yards, first down.
Patton with a rather impressive return. You tack on the penalty, and the Bucs will set up on offense from their own 32-yard line. Lewis Murphy in at receiver. He goes to the bottom of your screen. And Mike Glennon in his second year took over in the second quarter for McCown. Bobby Rainey, the running back. Rainey gets the pitch. And not a lot of running room for Rainey.
Number 43, Bobby Rainey on the carry.
Second half, Chris, I think we'll see a lot of these stretch running plays, try to work some of the elements into the offense that we didn't see last week. We already see the hurry up or coming to the line of scrimmage, not necessarily hurry up, coming to the line of scrimmage, calling the plays, put the defense on edge. That's a new wrinkle from last week.
Rainey remains the back. Remember, he started 6 games last year. Passes caught. Let's talk about why, as Tim Wright makes the catch, why you do that if you're an offense. If it's not a hurry up, does it limit defensive substitutions if you just go to the line?
Not necessarily. We see Miami substituting 3 guys right here. You know, it's really just putting them on edge. There's the threat that they could snap the ball at any time. So your communication changes. The defense doesn't get a chance to get in the huddle and communicate a call. They got to do it either, you know, with hand signals or some other method that they have things on their arms. It's really just a tactic to put them on edge.
Could tire out a defense if you kept the pressure on. On third down, Mike Glennon's throw is in the neighborhood of Chris Owusu, but it was a play that never really developed. They needed 5. It's going to be 4th down.
Play never developed, and it was a little bit of a miscommunication there.
Michael Cannon back to punt, and there's the rookie Jarvis Landry. A high kick, a little short, fair catch waved for. And catch made at his own player there at the 30-yard line. A 33-yard punt without a return. Bucs will be on defense when we return. Fans optimistic about the kind of football team that Lovie Smith is going to put on the field. Are they Carolina ready? That's the goal. When the Bucs open the regular season against the Panthers here at a 4:25 kick. But first, this preseason game next Saturday, 4:30 at Buffalo, and then the home Thursday night game against the Washington Redskins. Larry English, one of the new additions, anxious to get into the game to play some defensive end. On first down, Matt Moore gives to Damian Williams. And Miami one-dimensional when you talk about over 200 yards passing on offense, but -5 rushing yards, Rondé, in the first half.
Well, I think that's the kind of defense that you can expect here at Tampa, especially with the guys that they have playing up front. You know, there's a real commitment to playing the run here, and it's always been a staple of a Lovie Smith defense. You know, one thing that I have noticed is that they are playing an absorbent amount of cover 2 right now. You know, we're not seeing a lot of the 8-man in the box stuff. Saw some of it last week in Jacksonville. It's been mostly two high safeties so far today, though.
Matt Moore fires over the middle again, wide open for a first down catch, and falling into Buccaneer territory is Kevin Cohn. He was with the Falcons the last couple of seasons, a free agent from Georgia Tech.
Again, this is another where you get this play action pass. It draws up underneath the fence. We used to call this the Joe Horn pass because Joe Horn for New Orleans used to run this to perfection. Sit down in the zone right behind those linebackers. The ball is out because they're sniffing around the line of scrimmage.
Damian Williams carries. That's the longest run of the game for the Dolphins. He gets inside the 41. Boy, Joe Horn, there's a name I hadn't heard in a while. Didn't he? He was one of the ones who started the whole celebration in the end zone using props bit before they had to step in. And now you can't even slam dunk the ball over the goalpost like Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham got fined
twice. He doesn't care. He got the new contract. Saints had 22 penalties in their game the other night. Luke McCown, by the way, had a good game. In fact, I was talking to Josh McCown before this game. He said, it was nice to see my brother do well in the preseason. Of course, in the same division, he doesn't want him doing well during the regular season once Drew Brees gets around to playing for New Orleans.
A couple of new family connections with New Orleans. Jarris Byrd, who was their big free agent signing from Buffalo in New Orleans. We have his dad is our defensive back coach here in Tampa. So that won't be a friendly rivalry anymore. Bad blood between them.
On the first down throw to the 36s, Armand bends all the way down to the 15, and it's going to be a first down for the Dolphins. Last couple of drives, they have moved the ball without much of a threat.
Dolphins got a good plan here. See the fake, it brings in the defense, but cut out on the corner. Linebacker gets cut down too. Keith Tandy actually makes a great play to save a touchdown there. Your last line of defense. Keith did a good job preventing that score.
Damian Williams, the running back, at 1st and 10 Dolphins from the 15. Hand off Williams. Knocked down short of the 12-yard line. It'll be 2nd down.
Miami's getting a little bit of momentum rolling here in the second half. You know, this shotgun read option type offense, although I think it's safe to say the quarterbacks aren't going to run in this deal. But it has been effective so far, creating some play action opportunities against this Bucs defense.
2nd down 7 from the Buccaneer 12. Williams in motion, more to throw. Ball is caught inside the 5 for a 1st and goal, Miami, and that's Cone again.
Seeing them putting some pressure on these young Buck corners.
Khalil Claude comes in for the Buccaneers along with Danny Lanzana. On 1st and goal from the 3. Williams has it, and down to the goal line, no.
There's confusion by the Bucs getting lined up there. Danny Gore didn't know whether to go over and line up on that slot receiver. Just kind of get that feeling right now that the Bucs are on their heels. They don't have. There was a lot of energy on that Buck defense when that first unit was in. So far, early in this second half, it's not there. It hasn't been recreated by these 2nd and 3rd team guys yet.
Damian Williams from the 1. 2nd effort. Touchdown Dolphins. Matt Moore has come in. The backup quarterback has sparked this unit to end the first half on a touchdown toss and a drive here, handing off to the rookie running back from Oklahoma, Damian Williams.
A really methodical drive. There was nothing. There was the big play on 3rd down. Just the constant running, the commitment to it, finding a pass here and there.
Do you like this extra point? This is the last time they put it under an experimental basis for 2 preseason games, backing it up.
I do not like it, actually. I know it's important to have, you know, a challenge, but I like the way it used to be.
Well, it's good from Potter, and Miami now has a 17-7 lead over the Bucs after Damian Williams punches it in. We welcome you back at Raymond James Stadium, the Bucs preseason home opener, 2nd game of the season. And let's take a look at the GMC scoring drive. We are professional grade. 71 yards in a 4.5-minute chunk. Matt Moore executing when he needed to. And now Marcus Solomon Patton is back to receive. Deep in his own end zone, he's going to bring it out. And what a return. A near 30-yard return.
Solomon said he's trying to make the team. I don't care if it's at the back of the end zone.
How many opportunities is he going to have? Here comes Mike Lennon to lead the offense again. Lovie Smith talking about the 2nd-year quarterback who is the backup to Josh McCown.
Mike is in a position where some players have to know their role, and we're asking Mike to take a different role. For our football team, we'll establish what their roles will be. He knows what his will be. In time, he will be leading our franchise. In the meantime, he's just getting ready.
And he's taken his cues from Josh McCown as Mike James carries for an 8-yard run and right to the line without a huddle on 2nd down 2. James the carry again. Ball comes out on the end of the play. Did not hear a whistle. Now you can hear the whistle. But who has the football?
That was hurry up, Chris. They were trying to get the ball snapped, get Miami not ready and pick up a quick first down. The only problem, Mike James failed to hold on to the football there. You got a scrum for it at the bottom of the pile. The Bucs come away with it, though.
And they have a first down.
Again, ball security's got to be paramount for this Bucs team. I just don't think that they, during the regular season, that they have enough experience and talent to be able to win losing the turnover battle. We saw them struggle with it last week in Jacksonville, and that was almost their 2nd turnover again today.
Jason Foster on the recovery of the James fumble, and James carries again, turns the corner, and gets up across the 43-yard line. He started 3 games last year, had 158 yards against Seattle, but then he broke his ankle the following week against Miami. And we have an injured player now, and Mike James is not getting up. We will check on the injury and have more from Raymond James in just a moment. Mike James injured on the play, and it does not look like the ankle that he broke last year. Coming out of the game, so let's check in with Dan Lucas with a Florida hospital injury report.
Hi, Chris. An update on Will Golston, who left the game with a shoulder injury. He is now out for the rest of the night. Major Wright, who's grabbing his back, he is also listed as out. And Brandon McGee, an ankle injury, he is out as well.
Thank you, Dan. And Mike Glennon, 5 of 7. Same numbers for Josh McCown. McCown has the touchdown pass. Here comes the flag. There goes Bobby Rainey, who was in at running back for Doug Martin started. Rainey came in the 2nd quarter. Then Mike James, who you saw leave injured moments ago, and Charles Sims out injured.
Offside. Defense number 76. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot results in a first down.
Anthony Johnson, the free agent from LSU, called for the offside. You see the ball spotted at the 48-yard line, where the Bucs will have a 1st and 5.
Mike James is still lingering around on the sideline with his helmet on. He's just doesn't look like he's out. Still looks like he wants an opportunity. I think he's still trying to figure out if he's hurt or not.
Well, let's hope it's not serious. Glennon has time. Here comes a flag, and the pass is caught by Lonnie Pryor. One-time Florida State star in his 2nd year in that fullback position battle behind Javorsky Lane.
Holding. Offense number 64. 10-yard penalty. First down.
It's on Jace Daniels, who can play center or guard.
See him over there at right guard. That's a definite hold. You see 2 flags coming on this one. Grab cloth. He's obviously beat there at the line of scrimmage. Jace was getting some first-team reps at the beginning of the week this week after they moved Jamon Meredith to tackle. And there's Mike James on the sideline.
Not wanting to take the helmet off, Josh McCown encouraging him as Rainey carries. It'll be 2nd down. They need to get all the way to the 42 of Miami for a first down.
Yeah, it's sad to see that if James is hurt. You know, he had a tough road to make this team anyways, and being hurt is not going to help his cause. Obviously, Charles Sims goes down with that ankle injury this week, and so more of the onus was going to fall on him and Bobby Rainey and even Jeff Demps, that we've yet to see so far tonight. An injury to him at this juncture could be real crucial for him.
And Debs checks in at running back. 2 receivers, you have Chris Owusu and Lewis Murphy in the game, and overthrown Debs. A sloppy session here by the offense.
It really has been. You know, Lovie Smith deferred to the second half, put his offense on the field once the start of the third quarter, and they go 3 and out. Defense comes out, gives up a long 71-yard drive, results in a score. And now we're looking at 3rd and 13, 14 for the Bucs offense here. Really haven't gotten anything going. That energy is really lacking right now in this Bucs team in general.
Glennon from the pocket, the ball is out. That is a loose football, and Miami's on it, and there's a flag down.
The ruling on the field was a fumble with a recovery by Miami. During the play, illegal use of the hands to the face, offense number 71. That penalty is declined. First down.
The call on the rookie, Kadeem Edwards, and it was Terrence Fede, who came up with the recovery.
Kadeem Edwards there at the top of the screen, just hands to the face. It's just can't do it. Bucs defense offense lacking a certain sense of urgency. See if they can pick it up when they come back after this break.
We welcome you back at Raymond James, where the Buc fans have been waiting for the Tampa Bay offense to break out of it. 1 touchdown. Josh McCown to Vincent Jackson. Miami has taken over since with 2 touchdown drives engineered by Matt Moore. Hand off Orleans Darkwa, who has running room down the sideline. Here comes a flag on the back end of the play.
That's going to be holding out there on Danny Gore. On the receiver on Danny Gore.
Kelsey McCray ran him out of bounds.
Holding. Offense number 15. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Danny Gore was sitting out there in the flat, ready to make that tackle. And just
Kevin Cone.
Cone had a handful of jersey. Allowed the running back to get around the corner there. This Bucs defense now, and they're in a position where they have to step up, or this game all of a sudden gets ugly. If you're a Bucs defense, you put yourself in this situation, situational ball, and they got a chance right here to get a stop and get off after a turnover.
Williams, and he was grabbed right away, but slipped the tackle, and then a swarm of Buccaneers. It'll bring up 2nd down. Saw Akeem Spence in there.
Yeah, you see Akeem Spence, you see Euclid Cummings, another D tackle getting some looks in there. Again, they're showing some explosion off the ball. I don't know, not sure if it's the guards of the Dolphins that are playing as bad, but we get these opportunities to get tackles in the backfield, you got to cash in.
Cameron Marshall in at running back. 2nd down 5 from inside the 35. Matt Moore to throw. And behind the receiver, incomplete. Moore is now 13 out of 18. The leading passer in this game, 158 yards and a touchdown. Larry English has come into the game wearing number 74 for the Buccaneers on defense. We mentioned the former 1st-round pick of the San Diego Chargers, whether he was linebacker, defensive end, however they used him, but I think Lovie Smith plans to use him as an end rusher.
Yeah, he went to San Diego and they tried to adopt him to a 3-4 outside linebacker, so he was standing up most of the time, but in college he was a dominant 4-3 defensive end. That's what he's here to do.
Pass is incomplete. It'll be 4th down. Moore missing on the last couple. And the Dolphins.
That's exactly what the Bucs defense needed. They were sieving a little bit there. 2 long drives, one before the half, one after the half by Matt Moore. Then they get a turnover from their offense. The best thing you could do is get a stop on defense. Try to turn some of this momentum.
See Brady Quinn in the background. This will be a 51-yard field goal try by Potter. The kick. He got it. Sailing a little to the right, but it was just right. Dolphins add to their lead. 4.5 remaining here in the third quarter. It's Miami 20, Tampa Bay 7. Let's take a look at the GMC scoring drive. We are professional grade. Potter's 51-yard field goal in a short drive in a short amount of time, but Matt Moore and Miami adding to their lead. At one time they trailed 7-3. Potter again challenging Caleb Sturgis for the kicking job with the Dolphins. Solomon Patton, the rookie, back to return. Back of the end zone, bringing it out. Patton to the 25 and no flags. We have 500 team members supporting the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Light the Night Walk with us tonight. And if you want to join the fight, register to walk at lightthenight.org/sun. And we'll give you 2 tickets to the next Tampa Bay home preseason game if you raise $100. Tickets limited to the first 500. For more information, visit lightthenight.org/sun. Contribute to a good cause and enjoy a Bucs game. Glennon remains the quarterback. The pitch to Jeff Depps. Let's talk more about the speed and his commitment to football.
Well, he's always a track guy. Obviously, Lovie Smith is fond of saying he's the fastest guy in the NFL, and as far as I know, he's the only guy in the NFL that has an Olympic silver medal. So it's hard to disagree with him, but trying to carve out a role for this guy has been very difficult. Whether you put him as a back, he's not very big. He doesn't have great hands to catch punts. So they're trying to find a niche for him. They haven't quite yet.
Glennon on the move, throws, and he was that intercepted. Here comes 2 flags. Miami acting like they've picked it off. Jason Trusnick, the linebacker, has the football, but hold on a minute.
I think Glennon's going to get away with throwing this interception because of the pass interference, but really, Chris, this was an ill-advised throw. He's covered. He was on the run, wasn't very clean.
Pass interference, defense number 29. Spot foul, automatic, first down.
So no takeaway for Miami. Will Davis, the corner, backup corner, called for the penalty.
Yeah, you see the corner is actually in really good position there. Will Davis has had a really good camp, couple of games so far for Miami. I was watching their film from last week. He had about 6 pass breakups. He's on just about every play that comes at him. Mike Glennon got away with one right there.
Pass was intended for Sky Dawson. So first down Buccaneers. They catch a break on a bad throw and an awkward penalty. Jeff Dempps carries for a couple. The only Buccaneer receiver with more than 1 catch in the game tonight is the number 1 pick, the rookie receiver Mike Evans, who has 2 catches but failed to hold on to the football in the end zone.
He threw away the 1 big catch that he had. This offense has really struggled tonight. Only 1 of 7 on third down. They only have 106 passing yards, 110 passing yards or so.
Jeff Dempps lines up as a receiver. Top of your screen, empty backfield for Glennon on second down. Need to get to the 45 of Miami for a first down. Quick throw, closing fast to break that up.
Well, that was Will Davis again. I told you.
And Tommy Streeter was the receiver.
Almost every ball that comes his way these past 2 games. Last week against Atlanta, today against the Bucs. He's putting in a good showing. Jamar Taylor is their primary nickel back, and they lost Rashad Jones to a suspension. This guy's trying to find a way onto the field. He's putting some good tape out there.
Third down and 8. Dempps remains the running back. Glennon's throw in traffic, batted around and incomplete. Again, it was behind the receiver, Robert Huron.
Let's make that 1 of 8 on third down. If there's been a huge negative for this offense, it's been their third down conversion rate. The one scoring drive was set up by the Gerald McCoy sack fumble, but otherwise they've struggled and struggled.
And penalties have helped them in this drive, but they've had their share of penalties. Not as bad as last week for the Bucs, though. Kanan standing at his 32, and Jarvis Landry back to receive the punt. You know, you've talked about Mike Evans from Texas A&M, and his quarterback in college was Johnny Manziel, and you talked to him a little bit about that. Let's listen in.
For the 500,000th time, your quarterback in college, Johnny Manziel, plays for the Browns. What are your expectations for him? Having played with him for those 2 years, because y'all were both redshirt freshmen. Y'all came in together, right?
Yep.
So what are your expectations for you? Imagine y'all are still close.
You know, I want him to be the starter. You know, first off, I want him to win that job. You know, being a friend, I want him to win a job. But whatever's best for their team, I'm sure they'll do what's necessary. But you know, if he's a starter and I'm a starter when we play Cleveland, you know, it's going down. You know, hopefully, most likely, we're going to get the win.
All right, so you can say it here because he doesn't have to see this.
Mm-hmm.
Did he make you or did you make him?
I always
be brash.
Yeah, I always get that. It's the same.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we both made each other better, I guess you could say.
I think you made him put some numbers up.
Well, a lot of people say that, but the first year when he won the Heisman, you know, I had a 1,000-yard season, you know, over 80 catches, but you know, he was still making plays. He was the best player in the country after me. Yeah.
Best player in the country after me. That's a great question. Who made who? I can tell you, in the eyes of the Buccaneers, who looked at both, they thought about drafting Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
They were close, thinking about a quarterback at that pick, and they saw Mike Evans making a lot of big plays, making Johnny Manziel look a lot better in situations.
I talked to Jason Light quite a bit in the offseason about who they were going to choose with that pick. What do he want? Obviously, I was saying, hey, Johnny Manziel. I love Johnny football. The way the energy that he brought. But the more film they watched, him and Lovey watched, the more Mike Evans stood out, and that's why he ended up being the 7th pick for the Bucs.
Meanwhile, Brady Quinn has come in at quarterback. Speaking of great expectations, high-profile college quarterbacks who come into the game, drafted in the first round out of Notre Dame, just signed within the last week or so as a backup, someone to battle Matt Moore behind Ryan Tannehill. Remember, Cleveland fans wanted to draft, they wanted him. Dolphin fans wanted to draft him originally. He went to Cleveland, former Notre Dame star, and it didn't pan out.
Yeah, went to Cleveland with the same pick that Johnny was at, 2022.
Couple of passes, but short, so Fields is in to punt. And back to return now to try on the punt return, Solomon Patton. Bobby Rainey did most of that for the Bucs in the first half, but Patton has showed some speed on these returns. Here comes a flag, and he's got it inside the 25. And knocked backward, slips, stalled at about the 28-yard line.
This is one position that I think Lovie Smith, Kevin O'Day, the special teams coordinator, really trying to hash out who is going to be that guy, whether it'll be Bobby Rainey or whether it'll be Eric Page, who was the primary returner last year. Patton's obviously put some good stuff on tape today, but it's definitely an area of concern.
During the kick, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 11 of the receiving team. That penalty will be administered from the end of the kick. First down.
The penalty is on Lewis Murphy. That's the 5th penalty against Tampa Bay. I wanted to go back to Evans talking about Manziel.
The penalty is half the distance to the goal, half the distance.
He referenced when we play Cleveland, and in November, the Buccaneers face the Browns, and we know that Evans, if he's healthy, is going to be on the field for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you expect Johnny Manziel will be the starting quarterback in Cleveland by that time?
I think by November, Johnny Manziel will be the starting quarterback there, for whether he wins the job here in the preseason or whether he just takes it away from Brian Hoyer as the season goes on. He's a very dynamic player, man.
Tim Wright caught it, lost it, and the ruling on the field, let's see if they're calling it a catch and a fumble or not. That's the indication, and Miami has the football.
Yeah, they're calling this a catch and a fumble.
Jonathan Freeney came up with the football.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass.
Okay.
Pass is incomplete.
Way to go.
Well, they changed their ruling, but you could see the official pointing Miami possession.
Thank you, Brett Allen, for clarifying that.
A first-year referee.
For us. He's got to control this to the ground. It's just like the catches into the end zone now.
And he never did.
And he never did. That ball was never in his grasp before he even made that roll. But back to Johnny Manziel. He is a dynamic player. He makes plays with his feet, out of the pocket. I love the way he played, but when you watch his film, too, he's a lot more solid than people give him credit for. I think they hear about all the extracurricular stuff, and they forget or haven't paid attention that, man, the guy can really sling a football.
Well, a couple of factors. A smallish quarterback. Quarterbacks under or in that 6 feet range. Yeah, Drew Brees and Russell Wilson have had success, but they were not drafted in the first round with a high first-round pick, so you have to consider that. And as you said, at that position, the quarterback position, you're the leader of a franchise.
Yeah.
So your off-the-field activities have to be in line with the kind of organization that you want your quarterback to represent. And here comes the end of the
2014.
third
Everything's
quarter.
on Instagram. And
everything's out there.
And
You're right.
else.
Just whatever you said is being tweeted as we speak. That's it for the third quarter on the Volkswagen scoreboard. The Dolphins lead the Bucs 20-7. It's the Volkswagen turbocharged sales event. Visit VWDealer.com. Fourth quarter here in Tampa Bay in the battle of Florida teams. Miami with the upper hand at the moment. Rondé Barber, Chris Myers, and we welcome you back here to Raymond James on the Volkswagen scoreboard. Dolphins lead 20-7. Quick pass by Glennon. It's Robert Huron, the rookie. We appreciate the support of Volkswagen for your Buccaneers and News Channel 8's broadcast of preseason football. Don't forget Saturday at 4:30 from Buffalo. And Glennon struggling after hitting out his first few passes. Here's a good opportunity to thank also James Petrauka, Rick Odioso, and Chip Hansen for helping us in the booth. And on the Bucs public relations staff, Nelson Luis, Mike Pahanik, and Alan Barrett for helping us prepare for this broadcast. I know you saw a lot of them in training camp when you dropped by.
Kelly Schutz, who I work with.
Yes, all people you're familiar with as
I'm familiar with.
a player/announcer. Damian Williams coming up on it and is smothered. Two Buccaneers drive him down as a flag goes down at the 45. And there's one back in Buccaneer territory as well.
We haven't talked much about special teams. It was one of our keys to the game earlier. But there's a bunch of guys who Lovey said they need to get looks at. Guys that were on the starting units today and special teams that if you're going to decide who's going to make this team, it's got to be a guy that's got to be able to play special teams.
And more than half the players, I should say more than 40 of the 90 are new to this roster for the Buccaneers.
During the kick, holding, receiving team number 44. That penalty is declined. Holding, receiving team number 87. That 10-yard penalty is enforced from the end of the kick. First down.
The penalty on Austin Seferian-Jenkins accepted, and he had that issue last week. Checking the third quarter stats brought to you by your Suncoast Hyundai dealers. Discover the completely redesigned 2015 Hyundai Sonata at your Suncoast Hyundai dealers today. Let's go back to those special teams because you got the impression, and that was one of your notes, that guys like Lanzana, McGee, and that Beck, if they're playing a lot here on special teams, they have a pretty good chance of making the roster. We go to 75 after the third preseason game, and then down to 53 players, of course, for the regular season. Pass is intercepted, and there's a flag thrown after Dane Fletcher turned around and found the football.
I'm going to say
he dropped the ball after he had the football. The flag came in between, so I don't know that he held on for the interception.
I'm going to bet
this
is going to be illegal contact.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. Pass interference, offense number 40. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
That was a cynical comment by me.
Yes, I gathered that. But it ends up being good news for Lovie Smith because Brett Brackett of the Dolphins called for the infraction, but Dane Fletcher should have had the interception. And what did he tell you in our meeting today about how many missed opportunities for takeaways that his team had?
Well, last week, if you watched the Jacksonville game, there was the one play where there was 3 Buccaneers that could have intercepted it. Major Wright had one a couple of plays later. There was at least 5 opportunities for interceptions. And when you miss them, you don't get those chances back. Dane Fletcher had a perfect opportunity This offense has been struggling. The only score so far today has been off a turnover that could have immensely helped them shorten their field position. But again, it's another miss-up.
And off Cameron Marshall on a 1st down and 20 run. And the Buccaneers losing the turnover battle today, and obviously on the scoreboard.
I think there's a huge correlation to it. The turnovers, talk about takeaways on defense. Lovey made a great point to us that if they get 2, you have to match them. You have to match them with turnovers, and we haven't done that so far. We've had some opportunities, we haven't done it. Obviously, we didn't match it last week in Jacksonville. They can be the difference. +3 ratio is what he's looking for, and they haven't been close to it so far this preseason.
Brady Quinn on the run and is brought down at the 28-yard line. Ryan Giddens from South Florida, the rookie from Armwood High, making the tackle on the former Notre Dame star.
Sets up a 3rd long here. That was some really good coverage back there in the secondary. Brady Quinn, who just came in, just said a couple of days ago, it's kind of crazy that he's getting snaps. He's only been in camp for 2 or 3 days. Just couldn't find anywhere to get the ball, and that was definition of a coverage sack right there.
On 3rd and 16, he'll go underneath to Marshall and stopped across the 35-yard line, where it will be 4th down. And for Brady Quinn, from those days in Cleveland and on to Denver and Kansas City, Seattle, St. Louis, the Jets, out of football, thinking broadcasting, and may be back there if he doesn't land a job. Actually told me, too, that he had a quiet tryout prior to here with Miami with Bill Belichick and the Patriots. At the time, he wasn't allowed to tell anybody. But now I can tell the world.
I can tell the world. Now everybody knows that he still wants to play football.
He's a very likable guy.
He really is. I enjoyed get a chance to meet him a couple of weeks ago at our seminar.
And when he's ready for broadcasting, he's got the right look and feel for the game to do it well.
He's actually going to be paired with my colleague from last year, Dick Stockton.
He's in the booth calling the Dolphins television broadcast. Brady Quinn is only 29 years old. We'll continue on the Buccaneers Television Network. Join us next Saturday afternoon. The Bucs shuffle off to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Game action 4:30. That's an interesting start time. 4:30 in the afternoon. If you want to hear Rondé's call of the Bucs broadcast, you got to watch it on News Channel 8, WFLA right here, and the Buccaneers Television Network. See you next Saturday. And then also the Thursday night following the home game with the Redskins, you can see live on WFLA News Channel 8 as well. Mike Kafka, the new quarterback. He's the 3rd stringer from Northwestern, signed as a free agent. Got to play a little bit last week against Jacksonville. Hands off to Jeff Demps, who gets across the 20-yard line.
Jeff Demp's feet hit the ground so fast.
They're churning quickly.
They are churning is a good word for it, Chris. This guy, love to see him be able to establish a role here with the Buccaneers. Lovey said, can't find a Devin Hester, but if we could make this guy somewhat like him, definitely have a role for him.
Demps kind of running high, but gets to the 25. Talk about some of the reserve linemen. We saw Matt Patchen in, who's from Tampa, Florida, from Armwood High School, the free agent from Boston College. There he is.
Kadeem Edwards is in the game, the rookie. Again, Lovey continues to point out to us every time we ask him, we need to see combinations. We need to see consistency from this O-line.
What was his line this week? We're not going to get fined for not naming our starting guards this week. A bit of sarcasm. On 1st down, here's Mike Kafka to throw. He's got plenty of time, but he doesn't throw. He's brought down at the 20 by Terrence Fede, who came up with the fumble recovery for Miami. 7th round draft choice from Marist College.
Bucs continue to put themselves in these unmanageable situations. I mean, you get to 2nd and 16. In order to get to a convertible 3rd down, you got to find 8 or 9 yards in here. Whether you do that with the run, they lined up here in a slot formation.
4th sack of a Buccaneer quarterback tonight. Demps trying to turn the corner. Tough tackling and out of bounds near the 25-yard line. It'll bring up third down. Well, what do you think of the running back situation, provided Doug Martin and Bobby Rainey are healthy? We'll wait on Mike James. You know that Charles Sims, the rookie who they had big plans for, is out from anywhere from 12 to 14 weeks. Doesn't look like they're looking in that area to add any running backs.
No, they weren't before this game. But if Mike James's injury is significant, you got to think that maybe they will. And Jaworski Lane has played running back, but he's more of a fullback in this offense. It gives an opportunity for Jeff Demps, but he's not had the looks. He hasn't had that much game time under him.
On the move, throws, and caught. There's a flag down. Tim Wright gets up across the 35, which would be good enough for a first down.
And if it is, it'll be their first third down conversion in a long time here.
Pass interference, number 18, offense. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Third down.
I don't know if he meant Sky Dawson 18 or 81 Tim Wright. But they are keeping a close watch on that. Officials, offensive pass interference, a point of emphasis during this preseason. So it negates the gain for first, and now third down from the 15-yard line. Need to get up to the 35 for a Tampa Bay first down. Just over 9 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. Jeff Demps carries, and that will bring up fourth down.
An exercise of fertility watching this Bucs offense right now. 1 of 10 on third down. Only 190 yards of total offense.
After the touchdown pass from Josh McCown to Vincent Jackson, it's been all Miami otherwise. And he's been busy. Michael Kanan ready to boot it to Damian Williams, standing at the 36-yard line of the Dolphins. Waving everybody away. And it takes a good bounce for the Bucs. Rolls down to the 27-yard line, where Tampa Bay downs it. And Miami will take over on offense. Just over 8 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. The Dolphins with a 20-7 lead. You're okay now. That was before the game.
I am passing this on now to Ira Kaufman, because you wrote so many good things about me over my career. Raheem Morris, buddy, you're not getting away. And lastly, Dick Stockton. I know you're right next door to us in this game tonight. So the Ice Bucket Challenge is yours.
There he is.
I noticed. I think Dick Stockton is ignoring your challenge.
He has no idea that I just challenged him. Somebody will tell him when he gets home. His new fiance will tell him when he gets home that he's been challenged.
Yes, we congratulate the veteran announcer on that. Old filled pocket Stockton. He'll be glad to donate money and help in the Ice Bucket Challenge. And they actually did get married, so it's official. Congratulations.
Oh, congrats.
Boy,
then.
It happens fast.
Two weeks ago they were married.
And back calling Dolphin games, that's Nat Moore, the former Dolphin receiver. Bob Greasy, the Hall of Fame quarterback. Joe Rose, Jimmy Cefalo help. There's Bob Greasy in the corner. Jimmy Cefalo, Joe Rose do the radio broadcast as well. And it's the 29th meeting, the most between two teams in the preseason for the Bucs and Dolphins over the years that they have clashed. As the catch is made, as a native of Florida, having grown up, I'm always proud to be a part of these, watching these games, and whether it's preseason, regular season, it's always a lot of fun to see which players will make it for the opening Sunday. And we all draw our own conclusions from the preseason, even before we become broadcasters. So there's fans out there right now saying, I think this will work. I don't like this guy.
Well, you hear the suggestion that preseason is just extension of practice, and to a degree it is. But anytime you dress up, put the real pads on, real jersey on, you want to see, some positives and get a victory. So far the Bucs haven't seen that, but I used to love these games. When we played Miami, when we played Jacksonville, you could juice yourself up a little bit because it's the battle of the state. And for 29 years, or 29 ops, that's a lot meetings between these two teams.
And a positive sign on the return for Solomon Patton, who got hit hard, but on the punt return gets it across the 33-yard line. And he's shown us something tonight. You talked about special teams on your hit list of things to look for. He's certainly letting him know he's available to do this. We have an injured player, and we'll check on that in just a moment. The injured player of the Dolphins being helped off the field. And Patton's dazzling return setting up the Buccaneers at the 35-yard line. The quarterback, Mike Kafka, as we mentioned last week when he got into the game, and fans in the Tampa, St. Pete area, Orlando area will recall in the 2010 Outback Bowl in the Northwestern game against Auburn, he had 47 completions. That was an all-time bowl record. Attempted over 70 passes, 532 yards. And he ran the ball as well.
Doesn't sound like there was any defense game.
Not in that game, but not like he sees in the NFL and tries with the Philadelphia Eagles, where he was most recently. And can't handle the snap. Bucs are on it. Looked like Demps recovered it. And just when you thought that things couldn't get worse for the Buccaneer offense, there is a flag down around midfield.
I'm not sure what that flag could be. This play didn't get underway.
Yeah, I know.
They're probably going to pick this up and wave it off.
There is no foul for illegal contact. It was a muff snap. There is no foul on the play. Second down.
Good call, Rhonda, if you want to try a third profession after football, broadcasting, and officiating. How about Lovie Smith when it was during the offseason he volunteered to help the NFL? There's a fan on the field, by the way, so they will stop playing. We'll let him make a fool of himself. But the off-season year for Lovie Smith, he would go to the league office every couple of weeks after reviewing the officiating, as they wanted a coach's point of view on officials' calls. And Lovie talked about learning a lot from a different point of view, seeing how difficult the job is for the referees, and gaining some insight, hopefully relaying that to his team. Smiling at the fan being apprehended.
How are you not talking about this fan? It's the most excitement we've had in the second half.
Well, you don't want to put people like that on television. It might encourage more people
but back
to do that type of thing, which is really not safe, which is not cool.
Nothing curbs fans doing this.
I think arresting. There's a louder cheer when he's arrested.
They cheered when they get thrown to the ground. But anyways, back to Lovie and in that internship, I'll say quote unquote internship with the officials. You can learn a lot from those guys. You understand that what they're calling, it's not like they're being subjective. They're calling the stuff that's in the rule book. In some of these, the illegal contact, the offensive pass interference, the slap to the head, some of the things that they're emphasizing now, it's not like they're making them up. They're in the rule book, and you get a better feel. I think as a head coach, you get a better feel for how the game is called. And Jeff Fisher did it a couple of years ago as well when he was out. And it can only help Lovie. Obviously, it could probably help Lovie when he's dealing with these officials, because there was a play last week that he said that the officials got wrong. And he very calmly told them, y'all got that wrong. And they told him later, you were right.
6 penalties for Tampa Bay. They had 11 last week. So they're, as Kafka goes down, tried to escape. Johnson, that's Kamal Johnson for Miami, getting credit for the sack. 10 penalties in the game for the Dolphins. So you can understand the officiating, but sometimes relaying it to your players is a little bit of a different deal. But he did talk about, it's something, Rhonda, you would know very well in terms of tackling and hitting and holding and the secondary, what you can and can't do and what's going to be called. And they're calling it. The Saints had 22 penalties in their game the other night. Yeah,
especially with the corners. And there will be so many calls in the preseason because of this emphasis on illegal contact past 5 yards. Before, officials would give you the leeway. 5 yards could turn into 6 or 7. Not anymore.
20-7 with just under 4 minutes to go. The Dolphins leading the Bucs here in Tampa Bay. Coming up, we'll get your thoughts, Rondé, on the Audi Player of the Game for the Buccaneers, Audi Truth and Engineering. And we'll also look at the Honda Drive of the game. There haven't been that many for this Tampa Bay team with just the one touchdown on the board.
Yeah, 1 of 11 on third downs. That means you're not sustaining any drives. And you're Jeff Tedford, you go to the drawing board for your preseason game number 3 where you're going to game plan and you're going to see the majority of your starters. You got some things that you need to clean up here in the next 4 or 5 days.
Brady Quinn to the rookie Orleans Darkwa. And Euclid Cummings making the tackle, the free agent from Georgia Tech.
Second or third really good penetration play we've seen from Euclid Cummings. These teams trying to run down the line of scrimmage against these, a lot of people will say undersized defensive linemen of Tampa. They got no chance. They're too quick. Saw it a lot with Gerald McCoy. We saw it with Daquan Bowers last week in Jacksonville. I think this unquestioned the strength of this entire team is how they play up front on defense.
Cameron Marshall in at running back from Arizona State. Gets the handoff from Quinn and works his way up across the 30-yard line. Well, when you look at player of the game candidates, you can go on offense. Certainly Josh McCown protected well enough and moved the team the brief time that he was in. On defense, Gerald McCoy, and even the fumble recovery from Michael Johnson. He was someone who you said at the top of the broadcast you wanted to see a little bit more of. But there's your guy. There's your anchor. And Lovie Smith knows he has a guy like that to build around.
Yeah, you got a dominant 3 technique in this 4-3 Tampa 2 quote-unquote type defense.
An evolving Tampa, a modern Tampa 2.
Modern Tampa 2. And you have all that you need. You put a stack linebacker behind him, which they have in Levante David. He fills that role that Derek did behind Warren Sapp, and it can be a dominating defense. Add in Mark Barron, who's assuming the Lynch type role.
Let's listen to Lovie Smith talk about the 2-time Pro Bowler Gerald McCoy.
Face of the franchise. Every team there is a franchise player. He's it. You want your franchise player to be great on Sundays and just perfect off the football field. Father goes home every night, does everything right. No one works hard on the practice field than Gerald McCoy.
And it shows up in games.
Warning. 2 minutes.
We've hit the 2-minute warning here in preseason game number 2. And we'll continue from Raymond James Stadium with the Dolphins leading the Bucs 20-7. Dolphins with a 20-7 lead and 2 minutes remaining here. Our Audi Player of the Game with Truth in Engineering, Gerald McCoy. And we'll get a look at what he did in the first half of the game as he played with 3 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble. Solomon Patton will get another opportunity. Knocked down at the 25-yard line.
For us up here, there was no more dominating player than Gerald McCoy today. Just dominating these offensive guards, the Miami Dolphins, whether it was in the run game, in the passing game. You see him get here, one slap hard, move inside, calls the fumble that Michael Johnson recovered, set up the only touchdown of the day for the Bucs. Gerald McCoy, very easily the Audi Player of the Game for us.
And up front with Michael Johnson, Clinton McDonald, a new addition, and Adrian Claiborne. When you talk about your starters that'll be ready for Carolina, Dolphins have an injured player being helped from the field.
Well, I think right now, if there's one group that is Carolina ready, it's that group right there. Adrian Claiborne, I think, has made a good adjustment going from right end to left end. I think the signing of Clint McDonald was huge. It comes and helps Akeem Spence, who was a rookie last year. And Gerald McCoy, I just can't say it enough how good of a 3 technique he is.
Backup corner Jaleel Brown frustrated and not wanting to leave the field. I really hope he's okay. That was a little bit of the delay there. .149 to go in tonight's quarterback numbers. Josh McCown had that touchdown pass to Vincent Jackson. Glennon came in, started out well, and then faded. And it's
all in all, they've taken
up a good
5 sacks.
That's a drop pass. Cameron Brate. There's Gerald McCoy appreciating, showing his appreciation to the Buccaneer fans who came out tonight and hung around.
It's the face of the franchise is supposed to do, right?
Yes.
And he is certainly that. He's very gracious in his in the praise that people give him. He's a heck of a player, man. It'll be fun to watch him this year. Two-time Pro Bowler now, All-Pro. Expect big things.
Mike Kafka on the run, throws towards the sideline. It's incomplete. It'll be third down. That was intended for Solomon Patton. And the Honda drive of the game. Get a great deal on a new car that you'll love at the Honda clearance event. It was the touchdown drive after the turnover, the takeaway.
Yeah, the drive of the game is all set up by the defense. Gerald McCoy sack fumble. Gives the ball in short field to Josh McCown. Finds Vincent Jackson in the end zone for the touchdown. And I think this is going to be the formula for the Buccaneers this year. It'll be great defense. It'll be low-scoring games. You know, there was a time here where we'd win games if we didn't give up 17 points, and that's going to be the way that this team's going to win this year, especially until the offense finds their groove.
Lavelle Hawkins, free agent, the former Charger, making the catch. Good enough for a first down as the clock runs. Each team with 3 timeouts remaining. On third down, the Bucs are now 2 of 12.
Yeah, it's simply not good enough.
Well thrown ball and a little bit high, but could have been caught by Eric Page. Incomplete.
Whether it was the first unit with Josh, the second unit with Mike, and now with Kafka in here, converting on 2 of 14 third downs is almost unacceptable in today's NFL. You just can't win with it. You got to be able to sustain drives. And I know we'll get a more in-depth look at this team, more game planning next week when they go up to Buffalo and play. It'll be a better judgment, I think, of where this team is. I think Tedford will open up a little bit more of his offense next week. But so far in 2 preseason games, we haven't seen a whole lot from the offense, particularly up front.
Number 32 is in the area. There is no intentional grounding.
Getting rid of it quickly. And the guard play, you heard about Alex Boone, who's holding out, the San Francisco lineman who wants a certain amount of money. Teams expressing interest, I would assume, and we don't know anything officially. The Bucs would at least inquire, as other teams would who have an interest in that area. Anytime you hear a player might be willing to move.
Well, it's obviously an area of concern for this Bucs offensive line. So if there's an available player, whether he's on another team and the team's looking to trade him, or if there's a guy on the street, I mean, I think it behooves them to take a look, and I think they probably are.
It's a penalty flag down since the Dolphins have rebuilt their offensive line. Richie Incognito, somebody threw his name out, not on the radar.
No, he's not.
Illegal contact. Number 36, defense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic. First down.
Don Jones.
Richie was, he's a guy that brought a lot of attitude to that Dolphins offensive line, though. I don't think he's on the Bucs radar, but just from a personal standpoint, I've known Richie for a long time. I know he's got his own demons and some own issues, but he shouldn't be blackballed out of the league, especially if he has an opportunity to get another chance. I would hope that somebody at some point gives it to him. Don't know if it'll happen.
A nice catch by Solomon Patton, who was smothered, and the flag eventually came out. I thought we'd see it a lot sooner. Talk about getting harassed.
Personal foul, grasping the face mask. Defense number 37. 15-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
Kevin Fogg called for the penalty, and it'll be another first down.
George Warhop, the offensive line coach for the Buccaneers.
One of the more experienced coaches, assistant coaches on Lovie Smith's staff.
Well, he's certainly got his work cut out for him. He's got all hands on deck for him the next couple of weeks, trying to find the right combination for this team. Look at that throw.
Nice combination. Mike Kafka whipped it out there. Russell Shepard on the fly, hauled it in on the sideline. One of the better looking connections, and the cannons go off even at this hour because they're in the red zone.
Tampa Bay. their first. It will be 30 seconds.
2 timeouts remaining for the Bucs, who'd like to get into the end zone one more time with 35 seconds remaining.
Caffett through this, had about a yard of separation there, and Russell Shepard, who's the guy we talked about earlier in the game about being one of those guys that, you know, Kevin O'Day, the special teams coordinator, is looking to make this team on special teams, and showing that he's got some receiver ability there too. And if he's a guy that becomes one of the core special teams guy on this team, you know, he'll be up every week. So he'll have to play some offense. Good for him to get some looks here late in this game.
35 seconds to go from the 13 of Miami. Throw high and incomplete. Solomon Patton was the target. Jordan Kovacs back there covering the free agent from Michigan. Now 2nd down and 10.
He had him there too. You see, in breaking route, arms got a little short. Maybe he felt that pressure coming on him.
Well, that throw is a little high.
It hit his hands. It should have been complete. I know that's what Kafka's thinking right now.
Let's see where he goes with it this time. He goes the other way, and it looked like the receiver wasn't quite ready, and it was Patton again. And it's going to be 3rd down. Well, Patton, along with Sky Dawson, Lavelle Hawkins, Russell Shepard, Eric Page, they're all in the mix in that next layer of after Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans and Lewis Murphy and, well, you got Chris Owusu, Robert.
Yeah, there's
Robert Huron, who we didn't see a lot of tonight.
Robert Huron, who we didn't see much of at all today. But you know, this next week is going to be crucial for all these guys. Those Patton, Shepard, those guys are going to have to get their looks in this week in practice, because it's a good chance that the starters are going to play the majority of the game in week 3, and this will be their last opportunity until that final preseason game, when honestly most of the decisions are already made.
Tommy Streeter, the target. He had the touchdown catch in the preseason opener against Jacksonville, but that play never had a chance. So it's 4th down and 10 from the 13, and worth going for here with 21 seconds. Jeff Dempps remains the running back. 3 receivers down to the bottom of your screen, the left side of the quarterback. Blitz coming. The throw for the end zone is caught, and that is a touchdown, Lavelle Hawkins.
A little excitement for the Bucs fans that remained in to see the end of this game. Kafka took a shot there after he delivered that ball, and it was an all-out blitz by Miami. They brought the bar, and everybody at the line of scrimmage came, and there's one guy that you can't block, and he knows he's going to get hit, but he still delivers the ball, and Hawkins, well covered actually, secures a nice grasp for a touchdown.
Andrew Wilson, the linebacker, was in on Mike Kafka and hit him hard, but he released it for Hawkins, who gives the Bucs a chance to get to within 6 with 14 seconds remaining. Patrick Murray to try the 33-yard extra point, and he got it. 11 plays, 75 yards.
A little late to make that the drive of the game, but that was the drive of the game.
It'll always be a GMC scoring drive if you score. A GMC with a professional grade, making sure you know about it. And that was a sharp-looking play, considering it was 4th down and 10 from the 13. The way they lined up with 3 receivers, you and I guessed it was going there in that direction, but he got it away, and Hawkins hauled it in.
You know, if the quarterback gets any time to throw a ball, a chance like that, it's got to be a completion.
How about trying an onside kick just to work on that?
Could be trying to win this football game. Onside kick, you get situational ball. Preseason's a great time to work on this, because it doesn't matter. If they recover this, they get a shot at the end zone, they can win this by a point.
Connor Barth is going to try. Get it 10 yards, the bounce, and the Dolphins are on it. Well, they were ready for it.
And it really wasn't a great kick by Connor. It didn't get that second or third bounce that propels it up in the air to give your guys a chance to get it. But get to line it up and take an opportunity at it. The Dolphins will sit on this and end this football game.
Vincent Jackson, who hauled in the Josh McCown pass for the first Buccaneer touchdown. McCown followed by Glennon, followed by Mike Kafka, who just threw that touchdown pass to Hawkins. Well, Miami defeated Atlanta, so they'll push their preseason record to 2-0, and Lovie Smith and the Bucs will slip to 0-2. Remember, at Buffalo next Saturday afternoon at 4:30. Joe Philbin and Lovie Smith wishing each other well in the regular season. And then remember the home Thursday night game against the Washington Redskins to close out the preseason. Your final in game 2 of the preseason, the Dolphins over the Bucs 20-14. It will have some post-game coverage from Raymond James Stadium in a moment.